Are we going, or is this like
We're
pre-show
rolling.
intro? All
We're
right.
rolling. Dude, I hate the whole. And today we've got like, fuck that.
It's so funny because being on the receiving end of it, I don't have a personal preference. But some people are like, that's critical. Like that has to be done. I've done interviews before where like they're halfway through and like the intro isn't going well. They're like, cut it. We got to start from scratch again. It's like, all right, dude, it's not that
Yeah,
important. So
no, I used to do like, dude, when I was doing it 10 years ago, I would do,
yeah,
oh, it's Reggie from the front row report. Today I'm like, man, I just feel like it feels more natural when it's like you turn it on and if they're watching the interview, they know who you are. I don't need to
yeah, for
introduce
sure.
you. And when I do
Right.
when I do the audio of it, I'll do an intro. Like, and it's
Sure.
awkward for you too. When it's like, oh, and I've got Fear of Waters, Dave Penn.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
fuck that. And I'm leaving this in too. This is on the video.
Hey, this is your show, man. If you want to fucking fart on the microphone and say that's part of your thing, then that's go for it.
Shit, man.
But
Man,
yeah, good to
this
meet you. Happy to be here.
yeah, man, thanks for taking time today. I'll be honest, I wasn't familiar with anything you've done even at this time last week, but it sounded like a really interesting interview. And then
Yeah,
when I
so
got
I would say that you and the vast majority of the world, that's kind of the position that I'm in right now, which is, it's
right,
interesting because
yeah,
um and it's very much so why I'm doing interviews,
mhm,
is that it's like my music is having success in a very unconventional way.
right,
It's not like I don't want to say like music videos in regular rotation because that's not exactly a thing, but
sure,
I was going to say a major label. I don't have any label. I don't have much of a team in place. I'm an
right,
independent artist, one man band that's making music with featured artists or who are people that are relevant to today's scene, but are also people that I highly respect. And like, I'm basically
yeah,
doing what I want as a musician that is fulfilling to me.
yeah,
And if the byproduct of that is commercial success, awesome. But that's like not my focus in
mhm,
terms of how I'm making music. So, anyways, I've been doing this for 20 years, but it's kind of evolved into something much bigger in
right,
the last couple of years. And the current single, Codependent Parasites, featuring Elias Soriano of Nonpoint,
yeah,
who's incredible, has been performing really, really well and has been charting
yeah,
for the last 14 weeks. And, that's led to some really great exposure and opportunity. All of that is to say, I don't blame you for not knowing who I am yet. And that's, for
right,
your listeners as well. That's kind of like, I love podcasts, but most of the time you're listening to a podcast, it's either with a celebrity that you already know, or like
mhm,
a subject matter expert who you don't need to know because they're not a celebrity. It's just there because
right,
they're a music historian or a scientist or something like that. So
yeah,
I like being in that sweet spot of like, not to sound like an asshole, but like I know that I'm good at what I do and I really believe in what I do and I'm
mhm,
excited to get it out to a larger audience, and it's been kind of proving itself on its own. Like the fact that hundreds of FM stations across the country, their program directors and then their listeners have been keeping this on the air for almost 4 months without,
amazing,
I've never toured, in their markets before.
right,
I don't personally have relationships in those markets or with those directors. I'm not handing over like a duffel bag of cash. It's a scenario where it's encouraging for independent artists that it's like the music is speaking for itself and standing on its own, which is
yeah.
how it should always be.
Mhm.
And yeah, so it's been an interesting journey, man. So yeah, anyways, I don't blame you for not knowing who I am.
Well, you're doing literally what being an artist is. You're making music and making your art for yourself in ways
Yep.
that is fun to you, and hopefully people gravitate towards it. And when I sat down and started listening to the stuff on Spotify, I love your covers. The DMX cover,
Awesome. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, and
So
the bad guy cover,
thank you. So funny
yes,
story with the DMX cover. So I have I think currently it's my second most popular song on Spotify.
right,
Um, is that, and this was before I made this before DMX died, but it like saw this huge spike in activity
sure,
after he died. That happens with all artists. After they die,
yeah,
people become more interested in their art.
yeah,
As I was a part of this other band. I used to live in Milwaukee. I live in Austin now, but when I lived in Milwaukee, we were doing a Kickstarter for to raise money for our next EP. And the highest value package was pick any song you want and we'll cover it. and do a like a performance music video for it. And it was good. Like it was our highest ticket package, and it was the thing that people did the most, which was great.
Yeah.
And everyone except for one dude chose like Breaking Benjamin and
Yeah.
like Pantera and stuff like that like made sense for the type of music that we were making. And then this one guy, and he would admit this, like specifically to be a dick, was like, I'm between Despacito and X gonna give it to you. Just like, I want to pick something that I don't think you can do.
Right.
And yeah, they gave X gonna give it to you. And my other bandmates just threw their hands up. They're like, can we ask him for a different song? It's like, no, man, fuck that. Like, we're gonna rise to the challenge. And I'm not a rap guy at
Right.
all. There are certain artists that I definitely respect and appreciate,
Mhm.
and there's certain areas I can get into, but like as a genre, it is not my
Right.
thing. Of course, I've heard the song before. It was inescapable for a period of time.
Hmm.
Um, and it is quintessentially like it is textbook that type of rap where it's just like despite the like odd slowed down intro that's kind of alluding to what the rest of the song is going to be, the song is repetitive as fuck. It's the same loop over and over again. There's no
Hmm.
melodic component to the vocals of it whatsoever. And I sat down with a guitar and my computer and I was like, there's three routes to go with this. One is to like rap it, which I'm not going to do. The second one is to turn it into like an overtly metal song where you basically do the rap, but you're just screaming the whole time, which is also not really my speed. I was like, fuck this, man. I'm gonna treat this song as if it was like a Fear of Water original. And I stayed true to the like core elements of the song, kept all the lyrics except for, changed N bombs to other words.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, you heard it. Like I stayed
Hmm.
true to it, but I went through and I wrote, I mean, I dissected every single line and gave it like its own melodic and harmonic treatment. Each verse has like a different rhythmical and vibe approach.
Hmm.
Like this first verse is kind of straightforward rock. Second verse is more like genty, proggy. The third verse is like super chill.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, it was fun to
Yeah.
do. And it's cool that like something so successful has come out of something that was like a joke.
Right. I grew
Yeah.
up in a very, very Christian household in Iowa. And when that song came out, I remember just sitting up in my room blasting the unedited version of X Gonna Give It To You. And my mom or my dad, what are you listening? I'm like, you don't come up.
Mom, you gotta come check this out, Mom. You're gonna like it.
Right?
It was that a act of like pure rebellion for you, or did you actually find yourself attracted to DMX specifically and
I
rap of that
wasn't,
time?
I like DMX now, but in like 2004 or five, whatever year it was, in a very Christian household. I think it was just the insane amount of profanity that was
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
song.
yeah.
Like,
So you were just being a kind of a rebellious asshole
yeah,
by bumping. All
yeah.
right, there you
But
go.
then I
Nice.
fell
I'm
in love.
sure.
Then I started to really like the song. I'm
Yeah,
like,
DMX is
um,
proud of you. I'm sure. I'm sure.
yes, yes.
That's awesome.
Um,
I love it.
but the song that is coming out next week with
Yep.
Heidi.
Heidi
Um,
Shephard from Butcher Babies. Yep.
yes, yes. That song, I was able to listen to it today to check it out because
Mhm.
I wanted to talk to you about the song because I thought it was really
Sure.
cool you were collaborating with Heidi. But when I
Yep.
listened to it, I expected something just good God heavy. It's a
Yep.
ballad.
It
And
is a ballad.
your vocal styles complement each other so well on the song.
Yeah.
Um,
I
with
can't I can't give
the
enough praise to Heidi. So if your listeners are not familiar with Butcher Babies, she is one of the lead vocalists for that band, and like she's like 5'2", but sounds like she's 9 foot tall and
yes.
has the stage presence of that as well, and has very much so like rip your face off metal vocals
Mhm.
and like truly good. She's not like whatever. I mean, women and men, but like metal is not a gender specific thing, but like
She's a
typically when you think
beast.
about like the heaviest singers, you think of these male vocalists, and she is outshines a lot, if not most of them.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I co-wrote this song and produced it, recorded it with Sahaj Tikatin, who's a phenomenal producer, but also the lead singer of Raw, the band Raw,
Mhm.
which I'm also the drummer of that band.
Oh shit,
And we were,
really?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh my God, I had no idea.
Yeah. So we were going through female vocalist options, kind of like a wish list. And, very much so like the way that our conversation started today, that you not knowing me very much so applies to like when I'm trying to achieve my industry goals. So like when I'm reaching out or when Sahaj is reaching out on my behalf to potential featured artists, like it matters that a lot of these people don't know who I am. So where I'm currently at, and like that was 2 years ago, like the ball started getting rolling on that 2 years ago. Um, Basically what I'm doing now is by like, I have so much thankfulness and gratitude to the handful of artists that I've worked with so far, both the songs that are released and that are coming out soon, who have given me a chance solely based on their enjoyment of the music alone. They don't have anything to truly benefit from this, like for career wise. They're not like playing, a league above where they're currently at. And they're going to get huge exposure from it. Again, relative to what they would be used to as a signed touring artist with the full machine and apparatus behind them. So like
Yeah.
these people believe in what I'm doing. Those people being Heidi Shephard from Butcher Babies, Clint Lowery from Seven Dust, Aaron Nordstrom from
Gemini.
Gemini Syndrome, and Elias Soriano of Nonpoint, and Marcos Leo from Il Nino. Those are the five that are like done. Half of those are out, half of those are coming out. So, and well, my camera is telling me whatever. I have this like new AI powered camera that tries to guess when it should follow me, and it's wiling out on me right now. Anyways, yeah, awesome. So we had this wish list, and like, there were people on there that were unattainable. And I have to admit that if you floated Heidi to me as an option right off the bat, I'd be like, have you heard the song? Like, this is a emotional ballad. Heidi's amazing, but like, she's not right for this. And, so much credit to Sahaj for being like, you haven't heard her full toolkit. He's like, I've worked with her a lot. I know her personally. Like, we should do this. So it's that perfect sweet spot of like attainable for my size and kind of where I am on the food chain right now. And also the talent wise, like when I even just heard that first unedited, unmixed version come back, I was like, I got goosebumps, man. I'm like, she's got a killer voice like, see what zooming in on me? What are you doing? And then I have to do this like hand thing. Sorry, man, my camera's being crazy.
That got really dramatic for a second.
It did. What the fuck is happening here? Yeah, so the first time I heard it, I was just so blown away. And she took the song exactly to where it needed to be. That's something I've been very fortunate about, is that so far, I want to phrase this correctly, like someone like Eddie Vedder and Billy Corgan, phenomenal singers that are perfect. Eddie is perfect for Pearl Jam. Billy is perfect for Smashing Pumpkins. I cannot possibly imagine them in any other setting.
Yeah.
And I've been fortunate enough that with these collaborations that I've done, like specifically with Codependent Parasites, which has Elias, and Systemic, which came out 2 weeks ago with Aaron, I actually had those guys in mind as I was writing the song,
Okay.
even though
that makes sense.
I had no relationship there or whatever, but I was fortunate enough to be able to make it happen. And so their execution on the songs, like, it blows me away because I'm so happy about it, but like it doesn't surprise me at all. I'm like, yes, of course, like this is their sweet spot. Heidi truly surprised me. And she's also just been like an absolute joy to work with. And so like the amount of times that she's just randomly sent me a message like thanking me for being a part of this quote, beautiful song. I'm like, you're making me blush over here. Like it's awesome.
That's awesome.
Like, yeah, like all the people I've worked with so far have been like artistically invested. I wouldn't blame an artist for just being like, okay, this is a paycheck and maybe this is an opportunity for me to reach a different audience. Give me the song, tell me exactly what the lyrics are and exactly what the melody is. I will do that in what as little time as possible, the end. Everyone I've worked with so far has been the opposite of that, being really invested, going back and forth, sometimes for months. Aaron, like on his verse that I gave him, he completely changed the key of the verse, which I would have never thought of when I was writing it. But it was just perfect. It was like, that's exactly why I want to work with people of that caliber. Elias wrote, bars and melodic variations that I didn't have in mind. And like, I love bringing someone onto the team to be a collaborator, and then it becomes like almost like a democratically collaborative artistic contribution session. It's been great, man. So like this
Yeah.
song is called One Day with Heidi Shephard from Butcher Babies, and it is no exception. Like she's truly makes this song incredible. And I also just think that, for people who haven't heard me yet, a lot of my music is pretty aggressive, like in your face, melodic hard rock. And
Yeah.
yeah, this song has like a lot more crossover potential
Yeah.
than most of what I do. And I think also having a very talented, beautifully gifted female singer accompanying me on this, I think is going to open it up to audiences that otherwise might not be attainable. A
Yeah.
lot of bands do this where like Filter and Fuel and these bands that have like really radio accessible singles, and then you listen to the rest of the album, like this is dude, even Nickelback does this, is where it's like Nickelback haters, give any of their first 5 albums one listen through, skip the singles that you've heard 1,000 times, and you will find yourself listening to an incredibly well recorded
Yeah.
rock album.
Yeah. And even their new record is heavy as
Yeah.
shit.
Oh yeah.
Good
I mean,
God.
they have not
This new,
left any, like
yeah.
their production only gets better. I just think that they have stepped more towards let's make an album full of singles instead of let's make an album with 3 number ones and the rest of it let's do what we want. Which whatever. I mean, they can do whatever the fuck they want. They're one of the most
Right.
successful bands of all time. But
Yeah.
most people who like vitriolically hate Nickelback have never heard anything other than their singles.
I feel like they don't know why they hate Nickelback anymore either. They just
do. Exactly. Yeah. They're like the most hated band,
yeah.
but also I believe they have the record for, in terms of like modern hard rock bands, they have sold more physical copies of CDs than any band that is like in rotation right now. They continue to sell out all of their shows. They're still pumping out gold and platinum records in an era where you're lucky to have one song perform well and then disappear into obscurity. But they had a strong special relationship with the Pantera family. They did a song of this what's a weird combo. So they covered Elton John's Saturday Night, in parentheses, all right for fighting.
Yeah.
And Dimebag Darrell did a solo on that. And if anyone in the hard rock world knows that, like, if the Abbott brothers love you, you're good. That's like a Pope blessing you. Like, this is, if you, there's something wrong with you if you don't like who the Abbotts like. So the fact that they did that, and then to me, something much more significant than that is after Dimebag, tragically was murdered on stage in Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah.
Nickelback wrote a song about it called Side of a Bullet, and it's a really phenomenal song. And it's kind of like from the perspective of the shooter, who is this like really disgruntled US military man who just lived a very fucked up life and like didn't get the help that he needed. It's someone who found, for those of you who don't know, the guy who killed Dimebag was a massive Pantera fan. And he, in his fucked up mind, he killed Dimebag because Pantera had ended and he had moved on to his next band. And in his mind, Pantera was so important to him that he was like, it's Pantera or nothing. Again, this is so twisted and fucked up, but this wasn't like what this crime was rooted in was the love for the art, which is so crazy. Anyway, so Nickelback does a great job of this super heavy song, and the rest of the Pantera family found this unreleased, Dimebag is this guitar virtuoso. He has all of this stuff that's never been released. And they found this guitar solo that he just laid down in the studio and never ended up on a Pantera track. And they actually like wrote the song around that solo, like in that key, in that tempo. And I just think for them to pay tribute to Dimebag after that, and for the Pantera family to be so supportive in that way, it just speaks volumes to the credibility of Nickelback. So anyways, if you hate Nickelback, you're a fucking idiot. I think that's the episode. Yeah.
I love how the three singles so far, including One Day, is included in that. Well, maybe not One Day because it is so out of the wheelhouse for Heidi, but the one with Elias and the one with Aaron, when you're listening to those, you would think, especially with Systemic, that is a Gemini Syndrome song when you're listening to it. Halfway through, you forget that this is Fear of Water. You
Right,
think you're
right.
listening to Gemini Syndrome.
Exactly.
And
I think
yeah,
so. I that my goal was I would disagree with you in the slightest bit in that like
okay,
so I'm writing those songs with those guys specifically in mind, and
yeah,
like they are instantly recognizable, and the parts are very much so. Like Elias is known for that real
mhm,
powerful syncopated shit.
yeah,
And Aaron is known for his, minor key, dark, cool harmony, really versatile singing. So stylistically, absolutely, with those songs was aiming for
mhm,
their comfort zones. But it's really
right,
important to me that with everything that I do, it is, I want Fear of Water to have a signature sound, which is versatile and pliable to make room
mhm.
for these featured performers. So that just my intent is absolutely not to be like, this should be a Gemini Syndrome song and
No,
this should be
that's
a
not what I
non-point
meant at
song.
all.
But yeah,
Like,
stylistically, I totally agree
yeah,
with what you're saying. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, for sure. Tell me about the one coming up with Clint Lowry. Is that because all three singles so far sound so different from each other? They
Yeah.
all very unique sounds. I would
Mhm.
assume the one with Clint coming up is also very different than what we've heard so far.
I would say it's its own song for sure.
Yeah.
I was just listening to there's this band, I want to get it correct. I'm in a lot of different like groups, like threads that talk about
Sure.
like share new music and like there's this album by come on, Enemy, Enmy.
Okay.
It's it's really good, incredibly well produced, straightforward rock. Like if you love Breaking
Okay.
Benjamin, you're a
Okay.
guaranteed you're gonna love this album. But and it's not even a whatever. There's just a subsect of today's modern rock that is, in some scenarios, it's formulaic. Like there is a certain sandbox that if you play in, it's almost guaranteed to be moderately successful, or it is guaranteed to be like if you check these boxes, fans of
Hmm.
Breaking
Yeah.
Benjamin
Yeah.
and Five Finger Death Punch or whatever are going to
Yeah.
like this.
3 Days
And this
Grace.
band, yeah, exactly. This band Enemy knows that playbook and they're playing it very well. It doesn't take away from it at all. But like and there's tons of music of that nature that I enjoy. I hold myself to a different standard, and probably to the detriment of my potential success. Like you're never going to hear a 3 chord song from me.
Right.
In my mind, when I go into the studio, I want to make, just selfishly, first and foremost, I have to love the song. It has to be something that I'm going to listen. If I was on a fucking desert island, it has to be something that I'm going to listen to just for my own enjoyment
Yeah.
forever. Beyond that, I want it to be something that is accessible by both music fans and musicians alike. But it needs to be what I would just call like musically interesting. Basically, if Periphery made 3.5 minute long songs, that's what I want to
Okay.
be.
Okay.
And sometimes that makes music not as widely accessible.
Sure.
There's just when you just look at music that has been successful in all major genres, I'm not talking about like jazz or something like that, but country music, pop music, hip hop, certainly rock and metal, the most popular songs tend to be the most straightforward, which is fine. It's just there's more than enough people doing that. And I'm out here with the specific intent of not doing that. So it's great working with producers that can kind of help hone. I come to the studio with like fully fleshed out songs, and then they help narrow the focus. They help hone it in to be like, I don't want to compromise your sound or your artistic integrity, but also let's not make this something where you're listening to like a Tool song where you're like not even sure how to bob your head because shit is changing so much, kind of thing. So
Yes.
so
Yeah.
anyways, to answer your question, like everything that I'm doing, while it is playing in like different sonic areas, it's that core thing is really important to me. Of one, I do, once you become familiar with who I am and what I do, basically once you listen to an album or a handful of
Mhm.
songs, my goal is that from that point on, when you hear a song you haven't heard before, pretty quickly within the first 10-15 seconds that it's a Fear of Water song,
Yeah.
even if it sounds different than what you've heard before. I think I do
Okay.
some relatively signature things that the more you become familiar with my catalog, you'd be like, oh yeah, that orchestration thing or this rhythmic thing or these the layering of the vocals or whatever. I want these stylistic elements to be persistent throughout. But it's also important to me that like songs are not interchangeable, where you could take a
Right.
chorus from one and from track one and put it over track five and it would totally work, which again is kind of part of that mainstream rock playbook that I'm just not focused on using.
Yeah.
So to
Yeah.
answer your question, yeah, the song with Clint is definitely its own song, but still like checks the boxes of what I'm going for as Fear of Water. It was important to me. All of these songs are important to me, but Clint Lowry is literally like my like musicians Hall of Fame personally for me is like
Yeah.
Trent Reznor, Dave Grohl, and Clint Lowry is right there at number
Hmm.
three in terms of just like multi-instrumentalist, versatile,
Hmm.
professional musicians who have like persevered through not only like personal struggle, but also have gone through, you know, a lot of those guys' careers were starting pretty much at the peak of the music industry in terms like coming out of the 80s. It was like some of the richest people in the world were musicians. The most people of
Yep.
all time were consuming physical media. They were buying tapes and CDs and for a while paying to download music.
Yeah.
And all of those guys and a lot of those bands, and like this is, I give Nonpoint so much props for this, for like, if you started there and survived basically the destruction and reformation
Yeah.
of the musical industry, I have so much respect for you because this is how they feed their families.
Yeah.
And also this is, you know, their identity is tied into this. And like, and for, I'm sure I'll speak for myself, my sense of self-worth would certainly be strongly tied to my musical career. Like if I get a record contract in the early 90s and I'm just killing it right out the gate, and then all of a sudden I'm making 1/100th of the money that I was before, like that's a fucking hard punch to take, right? So like
Yeah.
if you can stick with it and you're like, we're going down with the ship and we're going, more importantly,
Yeah.
we're going to evolve and we're going to lean
Hmm.
more into like, you know, touring has to be our income source now, which means like merch should be really fucking important to us. Still the number of
Yeah.
bands that are out there that don't. I go to shows all the time and I love supporting a band through merch. It is the number one thing that you can do to support a band directly is buy their merch.
Yeah.
Most respectable venues are not taking a substantial or no cut whatsoever from a band's merch sales, but everything else, every download, recording costs, licensing, if they have a song
Oh
placed in a
God.
commercial or whatever, even the concert that you're at, they are having a big chunk of their money
Yeah.
taken from them from the other people. So like
Yeah.
buy merch. I mean, there's a reason that concert shirts are like $50. It's not because they're trying to fuck you over. It's because
They need
that's
the
what's
money.
putting that's what's putting gas in the tank. That's what's feeding them. That's what's replacing
Yeah.
strings and cymbals and sticks.
Hmm.
So with and we're so far down the rabbit hole of like this is the music industry now. It kind of blows my mind when I go to a show of an established band. I get that like an up and coming band can't drop 35 grand on merch right out the gate, but like if you're established, your merch setup should be sick. You should have so many variations in every single size. The most important thing is the amount of bands that don't have merch that is specifically for women, like the design, the cut, the
Yeah.
sizing.
Oh
It's just
God.
like, whatever,
Yeah.
man. Everyone can wear a hoodie, so just buy a hoodie. It's like, dude, no. And just
Yeah.
from a consumer,
Yeah.
this is just like a fact in the United States. Women in the like age demo that we're talking about here for music fans are more likely to spend their disposable income than men. So it's like,
Yeah.
this is a business for the vast majority of people doing this, and you're like fucking up, you're leaving money on the table, as they say. So like
That's a really good point.
invest, yeah,
Yeah.
and invest in your fucking merch, dude. Like that is where you're going to be
Yeah.
making sick money. And like if you have a good fan base, they're going to want to support you. And also like I don't like it, your merch should be fucking sick. Like it should be something that you're proud to wear. If it's just like black t-shirt with the
Like the
band name,
name
like
and the
this,
price. Yeah.
dude, this Avatar shirt I'm wearing is fucking madness, dude. Like this is,
Avatar is
and I
so fucking good. Oh my
yeah,
God.
yeah,
Avatar has it down to a science with
yeah,
everything.
they're
Like
awesome. Yeah,
stage show, merch, the music itself, like
yeah,
it's
and
a
just their
so good.
weirdness, like yeah,
Yeah.
I'm all about it. So anyways,
Yeah.
Clint Lowry, I have so much respect for, not
Hmm.
just so much respect, I mean literally I is a true inspiration and has been since I've been a kid. So to be excuse me, to be making music with him has been a true honor. And so this song that I did with him, it was really important that it was like up to par, like something that I think that he would be. I mean, none of these artists would do a collaboration if it was something that they did not want their name attached to. No one of that caliber needs money that badly that they're like, whatever, man, I'll just do whatever. So you know, he was actively involved in the kind of honing of the songwriting. Like the song was written and then he came in, he's like, I think we should change XYZ. He sent me demos of it. I was like, this is fucking sick.
Nice.
I'm gonna harmonize you here. I think his and I, what's so interesting is that like Aaron, Elias, and Clint have such different voices. And I
Mhm.
personally don't think that I am a great singer, but I do think that the vocal characteristic of my voice blends incredibly well with all those three people. So
It
like
does. Yeah.
when you hear me harmonizing at full aggressive volume with these people, there's something that's just so like smooth about it that I'm really excited about. And so anyways, this song with Clint is Seven Dust fans, kind of like how Nonpoint fans will definitely like Codependent Parasites. Like if you like Seven Dust, and certainly if you like Clint Lowry and all of the amazing solo stuff that he's done with
Oh
Hello
God.
Demons Meet Skeletons and his solo stuff by his name and Dark
Yeah.
New Day and shit like that, you're gonna fucking love this song. But after that, he actually like we continued our creative relationship and I did a um like I went to Nashville and started working with this really great engineer slash producer, Kyle Odell, who's worked with Motionless in White and Nita Strauss and a bunch of other great bands. And Clint co-wrote, so this is after our collaboration is done, it just hasn't come out yet, but then he was a part of this recording process and co-wrote 3 of the 5 songs that I did with Kyle Odell. And it was um just awesome. Like his contribution, he's not a featured artist, he just helped with like vocal melodies and song structure and stuff like that. And he's such a good, he just understands the language of music so well that like
Yeah.
his contributions were incredible. And again, it's just I'm like the epitome of honored to have him dedicating his time and his talents to being a part of my artistic pursuit. So I'm proud of all these songs, but this song is going to be extra special to me because it's like a bucket list moment for me to be making music
Right.
with an idol. Yeah.
So kind of changing gears, I think the easy question for me is why Fear of Water instead of Dave Perry?
It's a good question. And actually, I want you to, so I have a definitive answer, but I want you to expound upon that because um, I just, I'm a part of the Sirius XM fan community. There's a Facebook group that has like hundreds of thousands of
Oh,
people
really?
on
Okay.
Facebook. Yeah, so you should definitely join it. Even if you don't listen to Octane, it's just a
Every day.
good gathering of people who
Huh.
like hard rock music. And there's a lot of really
Yeah.
good conversations that happen there that are not
Huh.
directly connected to what's happening on Octane. So
Right.
someone made this post yesterday that got like, it's up to 1,000 comments now, but it's like, if you were able to take one artist who's in regular rotation off of Octane, who would it be and who would you replace them with?
Ooh.
And you know,
Oh.
it gets a little
Oh
snarky
God.
there. Yeah. But like a lot of people brought up Falling in Reverse just because, you know, Ronnie Radke isn't going out of his way to make friends. And it really rubs the like
Yeah,
sometimes
but he's
people's
always been that
personality.
way though. That's Ronnie.
Yeah, yeah. And I personally am not a fan of his, it's marketing. Like that is he's
Hmm.
whatever. There's people who have the mindset of like no press is bad press, all press is good press. Um he's doing it well. I'm never gonna do that shit. And unfortunately, I don't think it really reflects on the band. In terms of like, I don't think Falling in Reverse is a bad band. I just don't love
Right.
the way that Ronnie conducts himself. Other people love it. They're like, yeah, man, he's a fucking badass, whatever. So, but a lot of people don't like it. So a lot of people said
Yes.
like, get rid of Falling in Reverse and replace with XYZ. And I was also happy to see actually quite a few people said with Fear of Water. So I was like,
Nice.
I don't want Ronnie coming after me, but I didn't
Please,
say that. But
please no clickbait blabbermouth. Please, for the
yeah,
love of God.
yes, exactly.
Good God.
But anyway, so
No.
quite a few people said, and I'm going to get this guy's name wrong. I think it's Jairus Johnson is
Yes.
a guy.
Yes.
Is that the right name? Jairus
Yeah.
Johnson. So
Yeah.
I believe he is doing something similar. Not music. We do not sound similar at all. But he's like, to answer your question, he's not doing Fear of Water. He's doing Dave Perry. His artistic output is his name.
Yes.
Just like, but he's like becoming a solo artist before being so like Scott Stapp right now of Creed is putting out music and it's like actually pretty good. He's working with a good producer, but
Not bad.
he like earned that right? You know, like Creed was
Mhm.
this massive band. They're still a huge band. They're back together and they're doing really well, but like he has the like brand cachet that you can just be a solo artist by
Right.
name. That also doesn't necessarily mean like a huge thing for my like musical identity is that I'm not just like a solo artist with a band. I am the fucking band. Like I am a one
Yeah.
man band.
Yeah.
I do everything. Like that's a really like there's so much music out there that I do think it's important to have a point of differentiation.
Hmm. Okay.
I don't think people like people don't like owe it to me. Like I'm super talented. You have to fucking listen. But like it is interesting compared to the vast majority of other shit that you listen to, and plenty of it's great shit. But like
Mhm.
everything that you hear is me, and like it's a ton of fucking work. But like I love this so much that I fully invest myself in it. Anyways, I saw a lot of other than not liking the song itself, I saw a lot of people being like, get rid of Jairus Johnson because like this is not a band. Like we want bands on Octane.
Man.
Um, so I feel like I'm kind of answering the question that I asked you, but like
Yeah,
why
I see what you mean.
what's your perspective on this? Like as like say I hadn't answered the question or say you're just having a conversation about what I'm doing, like what is the like pro con analysis of like what are the benefits of being Dave Perry, like the artist is Dave Perry, as opposed to like a band name like Fear of Water. What do you think?
I feel like having a band name is almost like giving yourself a chance to have a different creative identity. I kind of
Mm-hmm.
attribute it to I work in pro wrestling a lot right now. It's
Okay.
when a wrestler has a wrestling name compared to when they use their real name.
Yeah.
It can give you a chance, using a different name can give you a chance to go down creative alleys and avenues
Yeah.
that maybe you may not be comfortable doing under your own name. I feel like you just feel like it gives you a little bit more creativity and
So
it makes
actually,
it
an
look more
interesting
creative
note
from
on
the
that.
get-go.
So with the band that I was in Milwaukee, we actually made the entrance music for Cassius Ono,
Really?
who yeah, and it's so amazing. Like the pro wrestling community are huge music fans, and the amount of
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
I would say one out of every four comments on a YouTube video is like, I came here because of Monday Night Raw or whatever. Or because of like, it was even like his entrance music in the video games that he's in as well. So like the amount of
Yeah.
people who are like shazamming their TV as he's entrancing or like just looking up like what is Cassius Ohno's.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
didn't he like, he like evolved into like Chris Hero, right?
So he was Chris Hero before he was
Oh,
in the
that other
WWE
way
and then
around.
became Cash. And it was kind of a misleading wrestling name because when you hear Cassius Ono, I think he's going to be an Asian guy and then he's Chris Hero. It
Gotcha.
was
I
it
actually
was
got
weird.
shades of like Muhammad Ali. I'm blanking on his name
Okay.
right now, but like his birth
Cassius
name
Clay.
is Cassius Clay. Yeah, that like
Yeah.
that's what my mind went to.
Yeah.
But anyways, to your point is I think that he was kind of exploring like he's the same person, but like when your
Mhm.
performance name, when your artistic output, and I do think that pro wrestling there is an element of
Mhm.
artistic performance there.
Yeah.
Um, it gives him an opportunity to evolve or completely change or be something
Yeah.
different. I agree with what you're saying is that with Fear
Yeah.
of Water, um, you know, it's first of all, just like most basically, it just sounds more interesting than
Does.
Dave Perry. And like I said,
Fair.
point of differentiation is really important. I'm competing with a number that I can't comprehend in terms of bands that want like
Yeah.
we all of us music consumers and radio stations only have so much time, so much bandwidth for new music. And like I
Mhm.
want to be interesting enough and different enough that it's worth your time to check out one song one
Yeah.
time.
It
So,
catches your attention a
you know,
lot more. It grabs you when it's fear of
yeah.
water. Like, what's fear of water? You
Yeah.
know, like,
So yeah. But my
okay.
goal also though, I mean it's worth mentioning that like and part of like me doing press like with you and whatnot is that one of my goals I'm kind of at this fork in the road where the main thing that I want to do in my life is have a music career. I want to make and perform music for a living. That's top. Beneath that is it needs to be Fear of Water music, or I need to be the front man. Like, I
Mhm.
think not letting my ego control my artistic and frankly business aspirations is a big leg up that I have to several other artists. And I believe like you have to have a certain level of um ego and confidence to be like, I'm going to invest my time and money and bandwidth to create my art and then distribute it and expect and want other people to hear it because it's good enough. Like you have to have that level of self-confidence that like this is good enough that I'm going to dedicate a huge chunk of my life to it and try to like get in people's ears and in front of their eyes. So like that's certainly a factor with what I'm doing here in terms of just that like I have to believe in what I'm doing, but it needs to also be, different enough to stand out
Yeah.
from all of these competitors. So yeah, I'm trying to make something that's musically interesting, but
Mhm.
not so interesting that it's like unlistenable for most people.
Yeah.
I don't want it
Right.
to be like if someone listens to a song like, oh my God, this sounds exactly like Breaking Benjamin, uh, even if they love Breaking Benjamin, and if that's something that gets them into what I'm doing, cool, but that's not what I'm aiming for
Yeah.
at all.
Right.
With all the producers that I've worked with so far, we have strategic conversations before they even hear what I want to record. We have talks specifically because of my like kind of unconventional situation that I'm in. Normally it's like like a label signs a band, they give you a budget, they have a roster of producers that they like to work with, but they make decisions about like, oh, okay, you want to sound and be perceived as something super similar to Bring Me the Horizon. We work with the engineer and the producer who did Bring Me's last album. You should go work with them. And then with that framework in mind, as they start working through the songs for the album, they have literal discussions of like, how can we make this sound as much as Bring Me the Horizon without it being a total ripoff? And that comes all the way down to like, these are the
Uh,
guitars and effects and plugins that Bring Me uses. This is the drum software that
wow.
Bring Me uses. Here is a melody that we're going to pull directly from, Sleepwalking or Throne or whatever, and we're going to change the key of it. But like a lot of bands who are seeking success are going over to that like lowest hanging fruit to be like, Bring Me is an enormous band. We want to sound it like we want to be accepted in the same way that Bring Me is. I'm the opposite of
Yeah.
that. And which again, that's a very much so to my own detriment in a lot of scenarios.
Mhm.
But it's more important to me to be sonically interesting and unique. And when I say unique, I don't mean like you've never heard anything like this before,
Right.
but it is important. My goal is to be, if you hear 5 Fear of Water songs, from that point forward, Fear of Water as soon as you hear it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be interchangeable with any other band. And if that makes it less successful than it could be, if my goal was to sound exactly like Bring Me the Horizon, then I accept that outcome. But anyways, my point is that part of what I'm doing, I'm at this crossroads, is that Bring Me Horizon's actually a great example. Like their keyboard player, who's a core member of the band, just quit after like 15 years. Pop Evil's drummer quit last month.
Yeah.
Dayseeker was looking for a drummer late last year because my understanding was the guy didn't want to get vaccinated, which inhibits a band's ability to tour internationally. The point of Smashing Pumpkins currently looking for a new guitarist. These
Yep.
amazing, established, signed touring, recording bands are having a lot of turnover in the last couple of years. And like I said, my top priority is I want to be a working musician with
Yeah.
a group of aligned, like-minded individuals. It's more important to me to be performing, and when I say performing, I mean like executing on a professional level with like-minded individuals. And if as a byproduct of that, if I get to continue to make and distribute Fear of Water music, amazing. But it does not have to be Fear of Water, which is part of the reason why I'm doing this by myself. There isn't really an immediate intention to like build a band around this and invest a fuck ton of money to go tour and probably lose money while I'm touring, which is what happens to a lot of artists.
Yeah.
And I'm open to that. Like if that opportunity comes, if one of these songs comes out and it's an absolute fucking smash, and a label or management group or whatever, it's like, this has true potential, we're going to, get behind you and invest in this and put you out there. You're going to open up for Seven Dust on the next tour or whatever. I would
Can't
happily
say
do
no to
that. I'm just
that.
saying,
Yeah.
yeah, but that's not my sole
Exactly.
goal. I'm doing like Fear of Water for me in a sense is like my audio resume. I want to be in that Rolodex. I want to be top of mind the next time Dayseeker needs a drummer, Bring Me the Horizon needs a keyboard player, Smashing Pumpkins needs a guitarist, because I can do all of those things.
Yeah.
This is a very roundabout way of saying I do want people to know the name Dave Perry. I'm not trying to hide behind Fear of Water in the way that,
Right.
like, I don't know, the member of Sleep Tokens are being anonymous
Yes.
behind Sleep Token.
Yeah.
Or just maybe more appropriately would be the way that members of Slipknot are, because Slipknot has done like interviews and they have onstage banter and shit like that. Like they
Yeah.
have personas, whereas up until very recently, Sleep Token has been like not only anonymous, but like silent. Like they don't do interviews or anything like that.
Yeah.
So like I want people, and when I say people, I'm more thinking like industry people. I'm trying to create the best music possible that's still artistically relevant and valid to me, but can also perform well commercially as like my audio resume. And this is my method of networking with my collaborative artists and then their bands and their labels and the radio stations and managers and everything. If Fear of Water becomes a success, that's fucking awesome. I'd be super happy about that. But I also very much so envision a pathway for my life and musical career that ends up with me being the next drummer of Breaking Benjamin, or bass player for this band, or guitar player for this song, or keyboardist. Like my thing, like I am a multi-instrumentalist who's dedicated his entire life to doing this, who is also like very seasoned veteran of the road, very seasoned veteran of the studio, songwriting, performing. Like I'm showing up to the job interview with a pretty fucking stacked resume, and I'm very open to like what doors open up for me in that regard. We'll see, man. Like but until then, I'm just going to keep making the best music that I can and distributing it in as many ways possible. My plan for the foreseeable future is every single song that I do is going to be a single with a featured performer. I do plan on doing covers in between these singles, these original music singles. The covers will be just me. And the main, like, you won't hear those on the radio the same way that like the current singles are getting supported. So like I would encourage fans to connect with me wherever you listen, like wherever you stream music, just follow Fear of Water there. And then also I'll be posting stuff on social. But like, these releases are going to have 2-3 months between them, these like main original music releases with featured artists, because shit takes a long time to get like perfect radio ready, to get the artwork designed, to get press releases going. I mean, like you and I are talking right now because of a press release. Like the apparatus that goes into performing at this level, like executing at this level at a truly professional level, like there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen. It takes a lot of time, effort, and money. So like I'm going to keep doing that, but also just as an artist, like artistic output is important to me, and I get fucking itchy if I'm not doing stuff on a regular basis. So I have this list of covers that I'm going to be doing. And they'll still sound fucking great. They're just not going to be like, I went to Nashville and spent $3,000 to make this song that is indistinguishable sonically in terms of it being a professionally polished product. So I'm going to be more prolific in terms of my creative output this year, but definitely, so you can look forward to a blend of singles, and then of singles featuring like featured performers, and then also a bunch of fun covers where I'm gonna, like the DMX thing, they're going to be. It's like recently when my song first started charting, the Codependent Parasites with Elias, there was I'm going to blank on the band, but there was a cover of Sweetness by Jimmy Eat World that was charting at the same time. I really like Jimmy Eat World. I was like, oh, this is interesting. But it's charting with like modern rock. So I looked it up. I was expecting something totally different, where it's like, I think Our Last Night is that group that does like, this is not the group that I'm talking about, but they do what I envision, where it's like, okay, you're going to take a popular song and fucking metal it out. This cover was literally almost indistinguishable from the original. Teach their own. The point? The point is to be successful, right? Like their point and mission accomplished, right? People like that loved that song 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and they love it now. And I guess the lowest hanging fruit is, let's just do this as close to the original as possible.
I hate those covers though.
That's not for me. But what you do is that there is a subsect of fans of, like, we'll just go with this example, there is a group of Jimmy Eat World fans that will like it because it is similar, if not nearly identical, to the thing that they like.
Yeah.
You're also going to get new fans who like the song because it's an objectively good song in terms of like that genre, who aren't familiar with Jimmy Eat World, or
True.
maybe have only heard The Middle, which was a bigger song.
Yeah.
Like, so when you do that, it's not a big risk.
Yeah.
And it worked. Like, I'm sure this was their goal, is like, let's be as consumable as possible. It was very well recorded. They performed it very well. It's just like, to me, I'm just, by my own standards, I'm bored by that. Like, I want to do something interesting and unexpected, if you're going to do a cover. So my
Yeah.
covers will be not like the
Right.
original version. And some of them will be like covers of like singles, of like song, like, oh, I 100% know this song. And
Yeah.
other covers will be deep cuts from, like, we'll just say Nickelback. Like, Nickelback, but the average person who is
Yeah.
aware of Nickelback isn't going to know this song that I covered. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm going to be doing a lot of that. Looking
One
forward
of
to it.
my
But anyways,
one,
yeah.
one of my favorite covers is Brian Head from Korn. His solo band, like 10 years ago, did a cover of Whip It by Devo. And I interviewed him about the album. And
Oh yeah.
I was like, man, Whip It. I love that song. What was it like putting that together? He's like, that's the Devo song. I was like, what? I had
Oh,
no
gotcha. Okay.
idea. So completely
Because it
different.
was so different. Okay,
So
gotcha.
different. And then a band called Two Shadows just covered Boulevard of Broken Dreams, same thing. Completely different take on the song. Those are the best covers to me when it's a completely,
Can you send me those links after this, after we're done
yeah,
talking? I want to listen to those because that's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, that's cool,
It's
man. Yeah.
yeah, or like what Korn did with their covers. Those are the best covers, like what you did with Bad Guy and X. Like make it your own version,
Yeah.
but make it good. Those are the best
Mhm.
covers, man.
Oh, so
Um,
like I just posted about this recently, but like I've been doing this for a while, but starting in like
yep.
2016, I started leaning more into the social media component of it and making videos for my songs and publishing them. And so I did a cover of, so Seven Dust put out this album called Bonfires and Time Travelers.
Yes, the
It's an
acoustic.
entirely, yeah, acoustic album, and the first 6 songs of the 12-song album are new songs. The last half of it are acoustic covers of their like
Hmm.
popular songs. The
Yep.
first 6 songs are original new songs that are acoustic, and they've never done like full Seven Dust hard rock versions of them, which I
I
really
love that.
wanted to hear. And now that I've done, so I covered Bonfire, which is the first track on that album, and did like
Okay.
a full balls to the wall hard rock cover of it. And it's, it's got like 500,000 views on Facebook, and it like made the rounds, and it came back to me through like industry connections that like it got in front of Clint, it got in front of Lejean. I actually
Nice.
just heard from their engineer last week. I put this song out in 2018, and I got a message from him on Instagram last week because he heard um Codependent Parasites and really liked it, and then looked into me, and he was like, oh, this is the guy that recorded Bonfire originally, and reached out
That's
to me. He's like,
awesome.
dude, I just heard this fucking cover, and like, this is sick. Like, this is, never envisioned this acoustic, atmospheric, it's
Right.
whatever. I just go check it out.
Yeah.
Like, I
Hmm.
love Seven Dust so much, and I would never try to, like, those are huge shoes to fit in. So like, I
Yeah.
want to do my own thing with it. And in this particular scenario, it was to like take an acoustic song and rip your face off with it. And I think
Nice.
that was achieved there. Yeah. Yeah.
I've got to ask you kind of in closing. I earlier you mentioned that you're the drummer for Raw. I had no idea.
Yes,
How excited
that's
are you
true.
about the spring tour with Union Underground, Soil? I'm a wrestling fan, so I'm
Yeah.
excited for that tour that's coming here to Fort Wayne
Yeah.
next
Yeah.
month, man.
So Sahaj lives in Fort Wayne, and yeah, and he has like a special partnership with Sweetwater Music, which is also
Okay, yeah, yeah.
headquartered in
That's up
Fort
there too,
Wayne.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so like the music that I recorded with Sahaj was he's got a great studio in his house in Fort Wayne. So like I've
Oh,
spent a fair amount of time in Fort Wayne, and Pierre's is a great venue.
yes, it's one of my favorites.
Yeah. So to answer your question, I'm excited the tour is great, and it's cool, like getting all those bands
Yeah,
together and everything,
yeah.
but I won't be there. So that's yeah. So this tour is Raw is one of the openers, and Sahaj
Yeah.
for this tour specifically. Like we did fucking 4 tours in 2022 and shows into
Hmm.
2023. And then,
Yeah.
but Sahaj makes like the most, like his money is coming from working with other artists, and he's really phenomenal with it. And he can do that at home while being with his wife and children. Totally
Yeah.
get that.
Yeah.
Um, uh, but he's doing this tour like as a solo artist. Not
Oh,
like it is Raw, but it's going to
yeah.
be like him with like backing tracks essentially, and
Gotcha.
it will be,
That's
it's going to be
cool.
great. So yeah, Sahaj
Yeah.
is a fucking
That's gonna
monster,
be
but like
fun.
this is, yeah, the reality is that, as you know, this is not a Raw headlining. He would never do that
Right.
for like a headlining tour. He is,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
one of
Yeah.
4 bands. He's one of the openers. It's
Yeah.
still going to sound amazing, but the reality is that, like, from a cost perspective, from a just
That makes
logistics
sense.
perspective, yeah, like
Yeah.
it'll,
That
it's
makes
just,
sense.
it will be good. Yeah, so it's going to be a
Oh
good
man.
tour. Some of the dates are already selling out, which I was really
Yeah.
excited to see. I still talk to Sahaj all the time, and like like I said, he co-wrote this song
Yeah.
that's coming out on Friday with me. So like he's excited about that as well. So nothing but love for Raw. I grew up listening to that first album from One came out when I was in high school, and if you told 18-year-old Dave that 38-year-old Dave was going to be playing these songs and touring the country, I would say, fuck you. That's not a real thing. So it's been great, man. It's been really
I
cool.
feel you. Oh man, I'm bummed out that you're not going to be on that then, because man,
Next
was
time,
like,
there will be
next
more. I
time,
promise. Yeah,
next time for sure. Oh
for sure.
man, dude, thank you for taking time today. This has been a blast, man. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you for taking time, dude.
Happy to.
One day is out next week, and it is good God. Like I sent Heidi a message after I listened to it. I'm like,
Oh,
holy
cool.
shit. I'm like, holy, she's like, you don't like it? I'm like, no, I fucking love this song. This is so good.
Awesome, man.
Took me
I'm really happy
completely
to hear
off
that.
guard. Yes,
Yeah,
man, you killed it, man.
I think I think it's going to touch a lot of people. Not to sound conceited, I just think it's going to unexpectedly creep up on people and hit them in the feels, as they say. So yeah, I'm really proud of what we made together.
Yeah.